Hey y'all, welcome and welcome back to my channel. Happy hump day. We're almost to the weekend. While you are here, go ahead and show your girl some love by liking the video and hitting subscribe if you are feeling the vibe. Those interested in my personal channel, I'm going to link that in the comments. I did post earlier today the 5 remote jobs that are hiring for the week. If you're interested in remote work or know somebody interested in remote work, feel free to follow my personal channel where I upload remote jobs hiring, about anywhere from like, I want to say 2 to 3 times a week minimum. And on Fridays, I have the non-phone Friday jobs. So on Friday, I will be posting jobs that are non-phone based that are hiring. So today's video, we are going to be listening to stories where the girl's boyfriend slash man, whatever, was married. I was gonna call this like a mistress type of video, but technically they didn't know he was married, so I don't feel like it's really appropriate to call them a mistress, even though that technically would be kind of what it is, but you get the picture. So go ahead and watch the content. I will be back at the end with my commentary.
I'm gonna tell a story about how I was once dealing with somebody who was about to get married. Honestly, quite sad because I had no idea, obviously. So basically, I met this guy, and I mean, we were talking for maybe about like a month and a half, I think. And we would go to the gym together sometimes. You know, he was so nice. He was, I don't know, he was just really nice. We never actually went on a date, but because we didn't get to that point yet. But we worked out together a lot. You know, we were texting like all the time. Like, you know, we had a good connection. Everything was actually going well until one day I had ended up like trying to go to his Instagram for something, and I noticed he blocked me. And I was like, this is weird because we literally were just at the gym last night. Everything was fine. Why can't I get this? Okay. Everything was fine. So I was like, what the heck? So of course, me being the person that I am, I used my fake account. Well, not a fake account, but I had another account at the time, and I used it to try to look him up. And Lord behold, as soon as I look him up on this other account, that's where I see his story. I don't know if he was just stupid at the time and didn't realize that he could just hide me from his story, or the feature just wasn't available. I don't really know. But regardless, he blocked me because he didn't want me to see his story. So of course, me being the person I am, I look at his story and I see he's at some type of fancy dinner, you know, fine dining and everything, but I don't see like who he's there with. And I'm like, well, that's strange. Why would you not want me to see that? And I'm, you know, of course my mind is clicking out because I'm like, So now my investigative skills are coming into play. So now my antennas are raised and I start going through his following, and I see he's literally following only girls. Like, I don't know why or how I didn't notice that before, but definitely red flag. So then I started thinking, I'm like, I wonder if this man has socials that I don't know about. So of course, the first platform I go to is Twitter, because like, duh. And he made it so easy to find him because he literally had the same username. Men can be so dumb. Like, it's fine if you're not trying to hide anything, but if you're literally trying to hide something, why have the same username across all platforms, you know? Anyway, so I go to Twitter and I see like him, you know, tweeting or whatever, and then I see him like tagging somebody in some tweets, and I try to go to her page, but she's private. I wasn't active on my Twitter, so I didn't have my name or picture or anything up there, so I requested to follow her. She finally accepted my request, and then that's when I see them like both flirting back and forth. So I'm like, whoa. So then I go back to Instagram and use her username to look through his following. I find it, and then I find out on her page they're engaged. I was like, what? How dirty. So moral of the story, if he has social media, don't trust him.
So story time. I meet this guy. We exchange contact information. We get to texting, talking on the phone, FaceTime. It's a cool vibe. Everything seems like okay. He alright. He tells me he's from Dallas, that he just bought a house in Dallas, and he moved here from Boston. So a couple of weeks go by of us texting back and forth, and one day he calls me and he's like, hey, like, what happened? I thought we would have linked by now. I really want to see you before I leave town. I was like, oh, you going on a trip somewhere? Like, where you going? Where you going? He's like, oh no, like, I stay in Boston. Like, he said it so like relaxed. I was like, no, I thought you said you stayed in Dallas. Like, I thought you said you just bought a house in Dallas. And he's like, oh, this is the height of the pandemic. So he's like, oh, you know, something happened with the pandemic. Like, I'm just going to Airbnb the property in Dallas, but I have to go home and help my mom with some stuff just because of life was life in 2020. So I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. Let's link up. He's like, hey, my birthday is next weekend, and I'm having people over at the house, and then I'm going to do a birthday dinner. And I was kind of hesitant because I feel like birthdays are really, really intimate, and I had only been texting this man for maybe like a week or two, so I was kind of hesitant. He was like, no, it's cool, just come through, you know, it's going to be cool vibes, whatever. So the weekend of his birthday, I go to look up the address that he sends me, that's his house. And when I get on Google, you know, you just type an address on Google, because I'm always going to check, you know, what the house look like, the surrounding areas, before I pull up on anybody's house, because people snatching people. So I look up the address on Google, like on Google Earth, and before I even get to that, like a real estate company pops up. So I'm like, oh, okay. And I go through, I'm like, how much he bought a house for? So I go through the transaction history, and I'm like, the house was last sold in 2004. And you said you just bought the house? Something's not clicking. So me being me, I go through the transaction history, and I'm trying to figure out, like, 2004, but you just bought the house. Like, 2004 was 16 years ago. Like, it's not giving. So long story short, I see like the realtor group that owns the house, and it is truly an Airbnb, but it's owned by like a realtor group. So I go to their website, and I'm looking at the realtor. I was like, he must be on here, because he say that he has a house in Dallas, a house in Boston, and a house in Atlanta. This man is not on here. He's renting an Airbnb for the weekend. So I pull up, I'm already here, I go inside, it's cool. Vibes is really, really cool. I met his brother, his homeboy, and like two of his homegirls were at the Airbnb. So we kicking it, really just vibing out, like real chill, kickback kind of vibes, having conversation. They had food already, drinks already there, cool. So I guess they had did something earlier from the day and people were tired, so they didn't want to go to dinner. And he's like, well, we could just go to dinner together and it'd be just us. I was like, okay, that's fine. So we drive to dinner, whatever. Dinner's great, wonderful date. Everything was cool. So he takes me back to the Airbnb. I get my car and then I go back home. So I'm driving home and I'm thinking, like, unnecessary lies is a pet peeve of mine. Like, why are you lying so unprovoked? You tell me you're from Dallas, you're not from Dallas. You tell me you own a home in Dallas, it's not your home. And it was just like over the course of us talking, like after we had met, like I kept catching so many unprovoked lies. So one day I had FaceTimed him and he was like, oh, hold on, I'm gonna call you back. I'm at my homeboy crib. So we had been FaceTiming like on a regular basis. Like we had been talking like pretty much like every day or every other day, like once he had got back to Boston. So he's like, I'm gonna call you back when I get to the crib. 30 seconds later, he called me back. I'm like, oh, so y'all neighbors? Like, y'all live next door? Like, that was quick. He's like, oh, no, I've been staying in my homeboy's basement. And I'm looking at the background of the basement that he's in, and very obviously it's the same background that, you know, he always has when he FaceTimes me when he's at home. And I'm like, you said you had a house in Boston. Like, why are you in your homeboy crib? So all the unprovoked lies. And then he was also moving too quickly. Like, he was just doing a lot, and I was just like, yeah, this really isn't it. So I had got COVID during this time, and when I get sick, I just go off the grid. And he had texted me like, yo, like, I feel like it's been a change in pace. Like, what's up? Like, where you been at? And I'm like, I apologize. I have COVID. Like, I just haven't been feeling good at all. And two, like, I don't know that this is worth investing into. Like, the way that you see things, I don't really see things like that right now either. He's like, no, like, what's wrong? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, sorry, I just need to go to bed because I can't process. Like, when I'm sick, I can't think. So that was like maybe like day 5, 6 into me having COVID. I had COVID symptoms for like 10 days. Day 9, I'm going to bed at like 7 o'clock every day pretty much. I get this long text message, which I'll insert and y'all can pause and read. This man's wife sends me a message. The message starts as, hey, Patricia. And I'm like thinking it's the wrong number because my name is not Patricia. So I'm thinking she's sending it to the wrong person. But I'm like, let me read the rest of the message to see what Patricia done did. I get to the end of the message and she signs the message, sincerely, Mrs. So-and-so. He has a very specific last name. So I'm like, oh, shoot, like he has a wife. She then proceeds to send me like screenshots from their wedding day, their baby shower, as well as like screenshots from his laptop of all the women that he's been texting. So in the text message, she says, I'm sending this to you're one of 9 women that I'm sending this to. And these are the 9 women that I know about. And I was like, what the I was shooketh. So I didn't respond because at this point, like, what's needed to be said? Maybe that's why he was staying at his homeboy crib, because they were going through problems. I'm over here like, but it's not my job to investigate or figure out. The next day I get a call. I'm at occupational health trying to get cleared to come back to work. I get a call. It's his wife. And I didn't pick up. So I just let it go to voicemail because I don't know who this is. She leaves a voicemail. She's like, hey, this is so-and-so's wife. I sent you a message and I just wanted to follow up and ask a couple of questions if you don't mind. I listen to the voicemail. I just go back to minding my business. I'm still waiting to be seen to get cleared for work. And then maybe like 30 minutes later, she texts me. It's like, hey, like I know a lot of people don't check their voicemail, so I just thought I would send a follow-up message. Could you please call me? And I'm like, the decency I could do is just call the woman. So I call her. She's like, hey, like I just wanted to know, like I sent you this message. You didn't respond. I just wanted to see how you're feeling. Do you feel like you need to check him or follow up with him? I was like, girl, I don't need to say nothing to that man. What is there to say? So she's asking me, like, can I piece together the details of when we met, how we met? So I explained everything to her, from how we met to hanging out with him and his brother. She proceeds to say that it's crazy because the weekend that he was here in Dallas, the weekend before he was in New Orleans with another girl that she sent a message to, and the weekend after was their son's first birthday, and he had left the birthday party early to be with another shorty. I said, this man is sick. So I was just like, yeah, girl. She's like, yeah, I'm trying to figure everything out and just figure out all the moving pieces. In my head, I'm like, what is there to figure out? Your man ain't ish. Leave. But long story short, she came to me as a woman. She was real respectful because the first time somebody came to me as a woman, they was trying to tussle. A couple years go by, like a year or two go by, and I see on Instagram his son's, like, the page, the Instagram page they made for their son, and I'm like, oh, it kind of looked like they're still together. And I was like, couldn't be me, because 9 women, nah, couldn't be me.
Hey guys, so I'm back with another crazy date story. So the takeaway I want you to have with this one is talk to people sufficiently before you go out with them. Whatever time frame you deem as sufficient, make sure you talk to them for a sufficient amount of time to notice patterns and give you time to ask the right questions without playing the 21 questions game. So grab your tea. I thought this mug was appropriate for today's story time. So yeah. Alright, so today, story time. Alright, I meet this guy on Bumble, and I thought it was a safe assumption to assume that everybody on Bumble was single. Unless it actually stated in your profile, my wife knows, or I'm looking for a third, or something like that. I thought that was the appropriate place. And because you have an about you section, and that's, I think, the time you should let somebody know. But I matched with a guy who that appears to be single. So I'm talking to him. We're talking. And again, this is my fault. I did not talk to him sufficiently before I decided to go out with him. So we're talking on a Friday. I have some availability on Saturday. I'm like, hey, it's a vibe. It seems great. Flowing conversation, effortless. But, yeah. So Friday we're talking. I make plans for Saturday. Saturday he suggests, hey, you want to go to the museum? Oh, I love the museum. Guys don't ever suggest that. That sounds fabulous. Let's do that. So I was already going to be in DC because I had brunch. So I'm like, perfect, convenient for me. After brunch, go to the museum. Bam, cute date. I'm already dressed. Works. So we talk Friday. We go Saturday. He comes. We agreed that we don't have enough time to go to the museum because they close kind of early on a Sunday. So we just head to a coffee shop kind of around the corner, grab coffee, and I had a great vegan cupcake. So we're talking chit chat, all is well. It's still a vibe. It's still a nice flow, a nice rapport. But in person, I am not feeling him the same way. Attraction, like physical attraction, physical appearance wise. But you know, put that to the side. I like talking to him. Cool. Alright, so we're talking, all is well. Decent date. Chill, low key. Just coffee and like dessert. Alright, so the things I don't like, and this is not the main part of the story, but there's other things I just didn't care for. His cologne. His cologne was giving like old man 90s vibes. If you know, you know what I mean. It was like that cool water, obsession, and he mixed things together. So I asked them, hey, what is that fragrance you're wearing? And I asked it in a way where it sounded like I liked it, but I didn't. So I did actually tell him in comment, like, hey, I don't necessarily care for the way you layered all those fragrances together, because he layered like 3 different colognes that should have no business being layered together. But that's beside the point. So I did say that because I'm like, yo, I can't tolerate this. My nose just can't. So it's not even whatever. So anyway, so I did ask him when we were talking, how long have you been single? He said he's been single since the summertime. I'm like, all right, cool. I did know he was married, and I did know he had children or has children. But I didn't ask specifically, when did you get a divorce? I didn't ask that question. So that's on me. I didn't ask the right questions. So how possibly could I get the right information if I don't ask the right questions? It's on me. So I asked him, I'm like, oh, I've been divorced for 4 years. How long have you been divorced? He was like, oh, actually, I just got separated in the spring. What? How? What do you mean? Like, you said you were single since the summertime. So wait, how are you still married? What? So he got separated in the spring. He had, I guess, a short relationship that ended in the summertime. So when I asked, how long have you been single? He responded with the summertime, completely disregarding the fact or neglecting to mention, like, oh, I'm actually still married, I'm separated, I had a girlfriend over the summer. He didn't say that. But I didn't ask the right questions either. So going forward, you have to ask very specific and detailed questions to get the answers that you want. And the math has the math. So, yeah. So, question to you. Do you date separated men? Is there a certain amount of time that is appropriate to date a separated man? Hey, I got separated yesterday. I'm on Bumble tomorrow. Can we date? 6 months, I've been separated. Can we date? 9 months, a year, I've been separated for 5 years. Can we date? Is there a certain amount of time that you deem as appropriate for dating a man that's separated? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section, and I may make a part 2 based off the feedback and the conversation there. All right, guys, bye.
Men will literally lie unprovoked, and it's truly disgusting. Let's talk about it. So I met this guy my freshman year of college. We dealt with each other for a couple of years. Eventually he realized college wasn't for him. He moved back home, joined the military, and although communication was nothing like it was when we first talked, he kept up with me via social media. He'd respond to my stories. There were times when he reached out and was like, I'd love to take you out sometime. And my response was always, you don't live here, or we don't live in the same city. And he was always like, I'll fly down. I always kind of brushed his messages off. I would like them, keep it moving, because long distance wasn't something I was personally interested in at the time. But let's fast forward. So last year, at some point, he started responding to my stories pretty heavily, whether it was heart eyes, fire emoji, or just a, random message. One day I posted about wanting to see a new movie that had come out in the movie theater. And he responds and he's like, when? And I'm like, I want to go today. And he's like, oh, well, let's go. And I'm like, here you are with the games. I'm like, you don't even live in the same city, let alone the same state. And he's like, oh, well, your city is on my list to move next year. And I'm over here like, on the list. So I don't respond. He double messages me and he's like, I'm serious. And I'm like, I don't doubt that you're serious. But if you do decide to move here, just let me know. It doesn't end there. We do continue to communicate. And eventually he's like, can I text you? So I send him my number, thinking to myself, he doesn't have my number. But I forgot at one point we did attempt to talk. But the things that he was talking about wasn't aligning with what I was looking for. So I did block him. So he responds and he's like, am I blocked? And I'm like, dang, I'm sorry, I forgot I blocked you. Let me go ahead and unblock you. We exchanged a few text messages. Eventually he's like, can I FaceTime you? And I'm like, you know what? Sure. Like, why not? We talk for hours. The conversation is great. And I'm like, okay, cool. It becomes a daily thing. I high-key look a mess, but let's get into it. So like I was saying, it became an everyday thing. We started FaceTiming every day, multiple times a day. And when I started getting to a point where I was like, dang, I think I'm kind of feeling this guy, I reached out to a couple of friends and I was just kind of venting to them about it because I hadn't dated anybody in years, y'all. I was just so turned off by what was in the dating pool. If you know, you know. Also, y'all, 2 weeks before we started FaceTiming, I made a list of everything that I personally would want in a man. And I titled it, God, Please. Okay, I've never prayed for a man, but I was having a lonely night. And I just started thinking about, like, what does Signy want? And then my friends just wanted me to be happy. We're like,
girl, go for it. You know, like, he seems like a great guy from what you're telling me. Like, go for it. And don't self-sabotage. Remember that. Self-sabotage. I immediately start asking all the important questions. Are you in a relationship with someone? Does someone think they're in a relationship with you? If you weren't pursuing me, is there someone else that you would be, you know, pursuing? I even asked, do you feel like there's a one that got away? After it was no's all across the board, I laid out my expectations. I told him I want my name dropped and I want my eggs cracked. And if our expectations and goals aren't aligning, then we can just dead the conversation here. But he swore up and down like we wanted the same thing. So I'm like, okay, we can move forward. So we continue talking every day. Some weeks go by and I'm talking about how I'm going to a destination wedding in the Dominican Republic. And he's like, you know, I'd love to see you. And I'm like, yeah, it'd be nice to see you within the next 30 days. And he's like, well, who's waiting 30? We start talking about a good time for him to come down and see me. I'm basically going over my schedule over the course of the next 30 days. And I break a nail while we're on FaceTime. This man sends me money for my next set. I'm over here like, And it didn't stop there. He would see things on social media and he would be like, wow, this would look so good on you. Next thing I know, a couple days later, it's at my door. He had already collected the information on like my shoe size, around what size I wore in clothes and everything. And he had gotten my address.
Okay, y'all, so on this next clip, there is a song playing in the background, and I just know YouTube is going to flag that, so I muted it. But basically, she just continues to go on saying that, like, you know, he just came in as a perfect gentleman. They was having great conversations, you know, and he just was, you know, just coming in out. He needed to come in to show that he really liked somebody, spending money, having great conversation, showing up type stuff. And then she said that they planned on seeing each other before she went to the DR for a wedding. And even though the flights seemed to be a little bit more expensive, he was like, no, it don't matter. I'll pay it because I want to see you. So now she's about to talk about how she's about to pick him up from the airport because he has came in.
Okay, you guys, part 3. So now it's the next day and it's time to pick him up from the airport. I look at the outfits that I laid out and I'm even like texting my friends, like, which outfit is giving first time seeing you in a long time. They help me pick. I get dressed and everything, do like a light beat. I didn't want any heavy makeup on first time seeing me. And we head to brunch and nothing was awkward, you guys. Everything felt extremely familiar because we did date in the past. But we go to one of my favorite brunch spots. Brunch is great. We actually run into a couple of people I knew, which was slightly awkward. But one thing I will say, he was extremely lovey-dovey. And I'm not really one of those people that likes hugs or like to be touched like that. So I really didn't know how to receive it. But in my mind, I'm like, I'd rather him be like this than be one of those types of guys that don't even want to hold my hand in public, you know? So he's like rubbing my back, kissing my shoulders while we're having conversation. And I'm over here like, dang, this is a lot. But I don't know. I like it a little bit, y'all. I like it a little bit. Now, I'm not comfortable saying too much, but we headed back to where we were staying at to put his bags down and so we can kind of like unwind and get ready for all of our activities for the day. Honey, the mimosas were mimosaing, okay? Later that day, we went like wine tasting, we bar hopped. We had a grand old time. Literally the whole weekend was a vibe. He was almost never on his phone. He gave me his undivided attention. His main thing was he wanted me to know that he was very serious about me. Next day, we did get breakfast again at my favorite mom and pop. We got ice cream and we decided that we were just gonna like stay in, enjoy each other's company and just talk, you know, maybe even pop in a couple of movies, just spend time. So we ordered pizza that night. He starts talking about children. He's like, you know, what's your timeline?
immediately I'm thinking about my OB's words. He was like, you have these large fibroids in your uterus. I want you to get them removed as soon as possible because I would hate for you to meet someone. Y'all start talking kids and now there's a whole delay because you have to have them removed. You have to wait a year before you can even conceive and etc., etc. So I start opening up to him about all of that. I'm like, well, I have this going on. I have to have them removed. It's going to take this amount of time. So the timeline is really looking like this. So he's like, okay, so based off of that timeline, we need to get that cracking. Like, when are you going to book the surgery? And I'm telling him, like, I'm really nervous about it because it would be open abdominal. I am going to document my journey because I did end up booking that surgery, y'all. So make sure you hit the follow button or the plus sign or however you're seeing it if you're interested in following my journey of my open abdominal myomectomy. He's like, whenever you book it, I'm going to come down. I'm going to, help nurse you back to health for a while as long as I can get away from work. And I'm over here like, wow, that's pretty, We're even looking at TikTok videos of other women's recovery process, so we kind of know what to expect. Like I said earlier, eventually I did call my doctor and schedule a surgery date. Once I gave him the date, he's like, okay, bet, I'll make sure I'm there. And we're also planning different things we can do before the surgery because he knew I would be down for 8 weeks. We're talking about a cruise. We're talking about Vegas. His birthday was a few weeks before surgery. So he's talking about like potential things he would want to do for his birthday. And I'm over here like, okay, cool, we outside. Y'all, he is literally saying all the right things. Like, I would have never ever thought that he was married. But anyway, back to the story. The next day we go to like this Asian festival. And it was so cute. We're like feeding each other different things. Like, we really had a grand old time. We're watching like a pho eating. Is it pho or pho? We're watching like a pho eating competition. Eventually it's time for him to go. So we say our goodbyes. We're really sad about it. And after he leaves, communication remains. We're FaceTiming, texting every day, multiple times a day. Then this is kind of when all hell breaks loose. He starts talking about a boys' trip with his coworkers to Colombia. And I'm over here like, your coworkers? You don't even like your coworkers. Like, we talk all the time, even when you're on shift. I know for a fact you're not close with your coworkers. You've never traveled with them within the States. Y'all don't go out in your cities. So it's kind of like, why would you go to somewhere like Colombia with your coworkers? It was a huge red flag for me because I'm never itching for a trip so bad to where I would go with people that don't know anything about me, don't care anything about me. We hear too many horror stories about people going out of town and not coming back or coming back in a box. So I'm immediately like concerned. And I am expressing all of these concerns to him. I'm like, that's a little weird to me, but whatever. He speaks on it as if it's not like set in stone, but he keeps bringing it up. So I'm over here like, okay, you're clearly going. He's talking about it again. And I'm like, okay, well, what are the dates? Like, when are you going? And he's like, a couple weekends from now. So I'm looking in my calendar like a couple weekends from now. And in my head, I'm like, I know he is not talking about Valentine's Day week. Like, I just know he's not. Like, this will be our first Valentine's Day, baby. It's our time to shine. Like, I kind of just brushed it off and we changed the subject.
Part 4. So I forgot to mention, before he left my city, he asked to stop at like an AutoZone or something. So I'm over here thinking to myself, like, dang, he's about to be in here shopping for car stuff for himself. But no. Small side note, back in college, he used to work at Pep Boys. He's also like heavily involved in like the car scene where he currently lives and back where he's from. He likes car races and stuff like that. So, but as soon as I park, he's like, can you pop your hood for me? So I'm over here like, oh, we here for me. He checks whatever, runs into the store, and he comes out with a pair of windshield wipers, 2 bottles of whatever type of solution that I guess he knew I was low on. I don't even know. And he handles that for me real quick. And then when he gets back in the car, he's like, okay, I got your windshield wipers for the next couple of years. When you're ready to pick up the next pair, all you have to do is come in and let him know. So I'm like, okay, thank you. You know, I really appreciate that.
back on track now. So it's closer to time for him to go to Colombia. And, you know, after a couple of weeks from the last conversation, when I asked about the dates, I asked again. And I'm like, what are the dates again? He's like, oh, weekend after next. And I'm like, so you're leaving Valentine's weekend? He's like, no, I'm leaving the Sunday before Valentine's week, but I'll be back on Valentine's Day. So I'm sitting here. I don't like it one bit. And it doesn't feel right. Something feels off because you're going to Colombia with a bunch of homeboys. What are y'all about to do? Sword fight? Like, I literally straight up asked him at one point, like, you really going on a boys trip? Are any women going? I'm like, okay. And I think he sensed my suspicion. This man doubles down. He's like, oh, the guys are in the group chat trying to nickel and dime the excursions. One dude's talking about, oh, he'll do ATVs, but he won't do this other excursion. And I'm over here like, maybe it's a boys trip for real. But then again, something still does not feel right. Let's fast forward. It's that Saturday before he has to catch an early flight to leave for Colombia. We're on the phone all day Saturday. I'm talking to him about packing. That particular day, I was pretty busy, so we didn't get to talk as much as we probably could have. But that night, we did text for a little while. And I was just letting him know, you know, the usual, be safe, be aware of your surroundings. Don't look expensive when you go out there because you're not familiar with the area. I would hate for you to get mugged. I called him like early that Sunday morning to make sure he was up and ready to go to the airport. I don't get an answer. I text and I'm like, hey, are you up? I don't get an answer. And keep in mind, this is somebody that would talk to me every day, multiple times a day, any time of day. I'm feeling some type of way. Hours go by and I text and I'm like, well, did you make it? And he's like, yeah, it's rough out here. And I'm like, yeah, I told you, just be safe and be aware of your surroundings and make sure you don't look expensive. For the next couple of days, he's barely texting me. Barely. No calls, no nothing. But he's posting on his Instagram story. So I'm like, this isn't going to work for me because I like men that feel like they don't want 24 hours to go by without hearing my voice at least once, you know? So I'm on the phone with my friends like, y'all, something is not right. Like, he's not been communicating with me. That's really off for him. Like, this is not a part of our regular routine. I'm straight up like, I'm finna cut him off because I see how you do when you're out of town. They're telling me like, you know, no, Sig, just talk to him about it, you know, communicate, don't self-sabotage. Don't let him off easy, but let him know how you felt about it and how his lack of communication made you feel. So I'm taking it in, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, cut him off. And I happened to click on his story when he uploaded something new. He's literally at some sort of dinner. There's like a guy doing like tricks in a giant ring swinging from the ceiling. There's salsa dancing. He's like posting one glass of wine. And I'm thinking in my head, you're not doing this with your homeboys. You're not at this with your homeboys. So I screen record it and I send it in a group chat with my homegirls. And I'm like, tell me he's not on a date. I don't know what type of fire that put in one of my friends. But next thing I know, sometime later, I get a message from her in the group chat. And she's like, I found her, friend. I found her. She FaceTimes the group and she shares her screen. This girl is in the same spot as him, but she's not posting sneakily. She's including him in her story post. We go to her page. Homegirl has a picture. They did the ugly JCPenney's photo shoot. She has like several pictures from that photo shoot. Mary J. Blige, You Are My Everything song in the background. Caption says 5 years down, forever to go. The shirts that they're wearing are matching. It says the Mrs., the Mr. When I tell y'all, my heart dropped down to my booty because I would have never thought in a million years this man had a girlfriend, let alone was married. Like, you're married? Y'all, that sent me straight to the toilet. I could not believe it. But you know, I had to tell the wife. Part 5. My immediate thought was like, wow, the one time I open myself up to date again, this happens. You make me an involuntary glorified side chick. Second, I'm hurt and I'm sad. shock is really overpowering all of this, but I'm also more so hurt and sad for his wife because, you know, can you imagine thinking somebody is your everything? Like the caption said, my better half, and he's doing this behind your back. My third thought is everything was a lie. Everything was a lie. Before I get into what I told the wife, I'm going down memory lane, and I'm like, the dog. You told me that your dog was from a previous relationship. The girlfriend and the dog didn't really get along, so you kept the dog. You talking about how you were moving back to our state. He's also from the state. But was that a lie? Talking about having children and marrying me, like, what was your end goal? The gifts. Like, we were just picking out matching swimsuits for our cruise that we were talking about going on. All the questions that I asked that you straight up lied about. My mom asking you if you've ever been married or ever had children. You lying to her and saying no. Planning to be there for my surgery, something that's sensitive to me. And now I'm thinking, what signs could I have possibly missed? We probably only FaceTimed a handful of times while he was actually home. But he did enough to where I thought he lived alone. I even asked him, do you have a roommate? You live alone? He's like, no, I live by myself. He worked overnight. And a lot of times when he would come home from work, and we were on FaceTime, you would sit in the car. I didn't think anything of it because I'm like, I sit in the car after work. Sometimes I'll be in there for an hour just losing track of time. But you would sit in the car. You wouldn't go inside until we got off the phone. When you sent me your address, you're like, oh, make sure you put A, B, and C down if you send me anything so I get the notification. Because I was going to send like the one swimsuit set that I ordered so you can try on the pants and make sure they fit because they were coming from Shein. Anyway, y'all, I'm on the phone with my friends and I'm like, I'm going to tell her because it's no way you should not know. You need to know. He cannot continue to get away with this. At this point, I have nothing to say to him. I did not contact him further. I didn't even tell him that I found out. None of that. And I did ask my friend how she found her. Y'all, check this out. She says she went to one of his Instagram photos, went through the likes, clicked on every story that was open and not private, came across her story. That's some real private investigator stuff right there. Shout out to Peaks, girl. We all need a Peaks in our life. I appreciate you more than you know because I can't imagine how far this could have gone. I respond to one of her stories. Keep in mind, we don't follow each other. And I'm like, wow, girl, he was literally just not long ago with me. I'm sorry in advance and just good luck. I attempted to attach a few screenshots just so she had that little proof that she may have needed. It wouldn't let me attach them only because I guess when you don't follow somebody and you send a message, they have to approve that message. I guess that was her setting. So I had to wait until she approved my message, which wasn't long after I sent it. And then I immediately sent the screenshot. So of course she starts asking questions and baby, I have an answer. I sent proof of me picking him up from the airport, just our text messages. I sent pictures that we had taken. That's another thing. You posing for pictures, you're not even playing right. But I sent pictures that we had taken with timestamps and location when he was here. And I also sent a spicy text thread just so she knew exactly where things went. She's like, did anything happen like these texts suggest? I'm like, yeah. She asked the question again, but more specifically, and I'm like, absolutely. She requests a screenshot of all of the messages we've exchanged since we started talking. I started from Instagram when he first pursued me because my thing is you came into my life. I did not pursue you. You pursued me. You interrupted what I had going on. I sent the spicy text. Hell, I even sent our call log so she could see how often we were talking. Like 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day. Like, come on now. On one hand, I'm feeling kind of bad because I know how this is probably making her feel. Like, I can literally only imagine, and they're on their last day of vacation in Colombia, to be a fly on the wall in that room. I can only imagine. But based off of the type of person I am, if something's going on behind my back, I want to know. Let me know. Beautiful woman, classy woman, God-fearing woman. Why are you doing this to her? Like, I just felt like she needed to know. She thanked me for sending the screenshots. Keep in mind, y'all, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning at this point. My friends are still on FaceTime with me, kind of just making sure I'm okay. I was straight because of the shock of it all. I think it really hit me like the next day more than anything, mainly because it was Valentine's Day. And I was like, dang, I did not see my Valentine's Day going like this. She does message me again that next morning. And she's like, I'm just curious as to how you found me. And I did go ahead and explain and include screenshots from my friend because I didn't want her to think that I was just some disgruntled side chick that was upset now because you're spending V-Day with your wife and not me. Like, no, I genuinely did not know. At the end of the day, that's his wife. So how she handles it is how she handles it. No wife slander will be tolerated in my comment section. She even asked me to thank my friend for finding her because she really would have never known. Now, she did make her page private, and for the next few days, she was watching my story, which was a little to me. But I just pray that she understands that she is enough. The sad thing is, she was loving him out loud. He never posted anything about her on his social media, ever. Never. And this is your wife? Y'all be safe out here. Sometimes, unfortunately, these men are actors and they're really, really good at it because I'm one of those people. I'm not Delulu. You can't get much past me, but he did. He got me good, y'all. I was played real bad. Girl, absolutely not. I blocked his number. I'm blocked on his social media accounts. And I did block him on this app. There's, to me, nothing he can say. Honestly, I don't want an apology. I don't want an explanation because you're just basically going to be lying again. You've been lying all this time. Like, I'm not opening myself up to hear more lies. I did not speak on the phone with her or anything like that. I was open to whatever she needed. And whatever she asked for, I assumed that was enough for her. And I'm leaving it at that. No matter what she decides to do, I just wish her the best. One thing she will never have to worry about is me. You do not have to worry about me, okay, girl? That is your problem. I didn't need any more problems, honey. It's too much stuff to focus on. And if he did her like that, what would make me so special that he wouldn't do me like that? Like,
All right, so let's have the conversation. It really sucks that the dating pool is very much trash. I have realized that, when it comes to dating, there's a lot of things I would have done differently. Like most of y'all already know, but I'm engaged and soon to be married. And this is the healthiest relationship I've been in. It's the greatest relationship I've been in. We don't argue. Like we're just, I don't know. Like I feel like he was just the person who was meant for me. Okay. But I had to realize that there was a lot of work I had to do internally to attract that. If you are on your dating journey to where you're like, I'm sick of this, like it just seems like it's not getting better and all this kind of stuff, definitely follow my personal channel if you're interested in finding your person. I have 2 different videos on there. I have a video on how I manifested my fiance, and then that's more of the spiritual process of what to do. And then I have tips. If you're a single mama specifically, I have tips on how to date as a single mom intentionally. So I have 2 different videos on there. I will link both. I'll probably just put one comment with all 3 videos, the remote jobs, and both of those videos in the comments. But definitely check that out. I do get private messages saying like how certain stuff helps them and stuff like that, and questions on what to do, how to move on, just stuff like that. So I definitely put together content to help guide people on the process. But nowadays, when you have such toxic, low vibrational content out there, like you literally have men bashing women with children, just like speaking down on women in general. Like it don't even if they don't have kids, they will find something wrong with that woman in general, like just constantly bashing people all day. And then you have, on the other hand, women just bashing men all day, talking about their financial status, talking about just use them, blah, blah, blah. it's a lot of low frequency content out there. So if we have a generation that is basically taking dating advice from these low vibrational panels, what do you think is going to happen? Low vibrational content. And a lot of them really just do that for the money. Like, and I really don't care why people care so much about other people's opinions anyway. Like, if you want to date that girl, date that girl. Who cares what he has to say? That's his opinion. And if you want to date him, who cares what she says? That's their opinion. But see, a lot of people don't know how to differentiate that. So I suggest, first of all, stay away from low vibrational content in your dating journey. I will say that. But, you know, unfortunately, again, the dating pool is full of that. It really sucks. And I always encourage women, if you're looking for that person, first of all, as a woman, you need to let that man find you. The man who you probably thought the man of your dreams coming is not him. Like, the one who you thought it was going to be is not him. Okay. It's not going to probably, look like what you think it is or be as old as you thought they were. Any of that. It's 9 times out of 10 going to be the person who you least expected. Doesn't mean that's not your dream person. Or you have to settle or anything like that. Cause I really do luckily feel like I got the complete package of what I wanted. But what I'm saying is, like, a lot of times we have this fairy tale picture in our head of what that person is. And that's not really what it is. If you go on YouTube and type in how I manifested my husband, how I manifested my fiance, how I manifested my boyfriend, if you put that in YouTube, you will see at the end of each video, almost every single one I have watched, they always say it was the person who I least expected. And the person came in when they wasn't even looking for them. That even happened to me in my experience. Like, I was on my journey. I was on my purpose. I was focusing on me, trying to create YouTube content. And this person who I just kind of seen is like, oh, he cool, like, whatever, ends up being like the love of my life. So you just never know. But that's why I always say, make sure you put God in it. It's a spiritual journey. Don't just be out there dating to date. Like, if you're looking for your husband, you need to move that way. Okay. But when it comes to this specific compilation, it's unfortunate. It sucks. I hate that everybody involved who was hurt during these processes. Like, I really just wish that people who can't be monogamous, just be honest. First of all, don't get married. First of all, don't have kids. Do not get married. Live your best monogamous dreams. I don't get mad when women be like, oh, I don't want children. Or men be like, oh, I don't want children. Good. Do not create them if you're going to create broken homes behind it. Like, live your best life. We talk about the sugar babies from time to time, but it really just be entertaining purposes. And then we also talk about, on the other end, men in certain situations. But let me tell you, the sugar daddies and the sugar babies, I'm actually glad that they exist because we need them, okay? Because men who do not want a family and who do not want to be committed to nobody, they have that option of a sugar baby. Sugar babies who don't want to be a mother, who don't want that traditional wife role, who just want the bread and want her lifestyle paid for, she has sugar daddies for that. So I'm actually glad they exist. And it's like, y'all need to go out there and do that and be that. And stop trying to, affect everybody else mentally and emotionally. Because the problem is people get selfish and they want the cake and eat it too. And I can't even just say men anymore. It's women too out here who are just cheating and moving like men. Like, they want their person at home, in that family life at home, but then they also want to go out in the streets and also live that lifestyle of having multiple partners and not even caring about the risk of potentially bringing something home uncurable to that person. So it just sucks out here. Definitely date intentionally, y'all. Date on your purpose. And to that woman who said, who was asking, like, would you date a man who is separated, not legally married? As a person who has been married before and who has even dated being separated, I will even advise you not to do that. I know it gets lonely sometimes and all that kind of stuff, but there's a lot of healing that needs to be done during that process. So I'm not going to say don't just sit at home in a box somewhere and cry, but I will say go out, have a good time with your friends. You can date. I wouldn't seriously date, but you can date to have fun, like have companionship and go out, have a good time. Of course, don't do nothing crazy. Like, if you have kids, bring these people around your kids or nothing like that. But I mean, like, it's okay to have company. It's okay to go out and have a good time and live your life. Like, during my first initial stages of my divorce, that's what I was doing. I was going out every weekend my kids was going, I was out. Okay. I was going out drinking, having a good time, trying to, like, you know, get myself together. And that's what I recommend you do. Somebody who's going through separation, I don't advise that you date seriously anybody. Take the time to learn yourself and heal the things that you need to heal within you. And you need to also be upfront and tell that person as well, you're not looking for that, because they may not be looking for it either. And that might just work out. But don't seriously date until you have really taken the time to heal and figure out what it is you need to fix within yourself so you can attract better. And then figure out what you want in a partner. So when you got it, you know how to act. Okay. But I wouldn't recommend it. Okay. But that is how I feel in regards to this whole topic, this situation. Let me know what y'all think. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I will see y'all on the next one.